I know what you're thinking. Is this the booth, drafting the circuits, three-way theater, or the Kevin Jackson show? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kinda lost track myself here on Whobazoo.com. So, do you feel lucky, punk?
Ricky, you can walk.
What'd you just say?
He's telling you the truth, man. It's all in your head.
You sick sons of bitches. I mean, you walk in that door on your two legs all fat and cocky and looking at me in my chair, and you tell me it's all in my head? I hope that both of you have sons, handsome, beautiful, articulate sons who are talented and star athletes, and they have their legs taken away. I mean, I pray you know that pain and that hurt.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on us. You are not paralyzed.
I am so paralyzed.
No.
Rough on him now.
No, he needs to know.
Okay.
He's always crying.
Tough love it is. Tough love. Wake up, idiot.
The booth. I share my world within the booth. The booth. This is all I do within the booth. The booth. A set of headphones, one microphone, and yo, hold up. The booth. I share my world within the booth. The booth. This is all I do within the booth. The booth. I got one microphone, flow blitz in the zone. Yeah, I'm the load me up, lock me in. I don't care, box me in, cause the booth got me in this brand new zone. Plug me in, turn it up, blitz gon' burn it up. Might start melting down the soundproof phone. It's one way, so it's one mode. Booth on the broken for days and anything goes. It's been 7 days, the same clothes. Still flowing for them dudes sitting outside on the blocks in the booth, but I'm spitting outside of the box. I know where the digits at, where the lyrics at. I ain't never losing, so I ain't gotta get it back. Got commercial music, but I still know how to spit it rap. I'm like the trees on my boots, I grew from the roots. If I'm lying, I'm flying, but I'm the truth. Only one way, my mobile or roam. I'm underground in the booth. The booth. I share my world when in the booth. The booth. This is all I do when in the booth. The booth. I got a set of headphones and one microphone. And yo, hold the phone, I'm in the booth. The booth. I share my world when in the booth. The booth. This is all I do when in the booth. The booth. I got one microphone. Yeah, I'm in the zone. Yo, Spence is in the booth.
Was he African?
African.
No. He was American, and he was like you. He looked just like you.
He was Jewish.
Just like him.
Okay, Jew.
Okay.
It's an odd crime for a Jew to commit.
I'm pretty docile.
Okay, so we have an African Jew wearing a hoodie.
No, you don't.
No.
No, that's not what I said. Is that what you heard me say? I said he looked like you. Do you look like an African Jew?
It's your boy, Sister One, broadcasting live, City of Champions, the booth. And you know what? I apologize because you know what? Sometimes we start talking before we go live, and sometimes it's a pretty good topic, and we end up, coming in kind of hot. Coming in hot already. So the topic we're talking about is going to be talking about in the legal booth. So we want to get right into the show today. I got to let my guys say hello. And let Ken say hello first.
Hello. Got
our Squid. What's
hello,
going on, our
everybody.
Squid? And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Don't forget next week, people. Our show next week is our 2-hour end of the year show. Want to make sure you tune in. And here's something I just want to let everybody know you want to tune in for, because we have this booth chat that goes on when we're off air from week to week. So we kind of talk about our topics and what we're going to talk about. And there was a story about the Walking Dead bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, being released for the ending of the comic book, Bob Kirkman's comic book, The Walking Dead. It actually started because it all started because our Squid got Walking Dead wine. And then as I was Googling and searching the Walking Dead wine, I saw that there was a Walking Dead Kentucky bourbon.
It's 45%, 47%.
That's still rough for me. Look, you're looking at a guy who,
Suck it up, Buttercup.
If I do drink, it's Angry Orchard apple cider. That's me. I'm not. Look, the person that I manage who sings drinks Hennessy. She drinks stronger drinks. I can't even drink that. So
now hold on a second, Sister One. A couple of years ago, you were very kind to invite me to your house for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
My brother usually works on Thanksgiving. And I brought in a collection of Manischewitz wines.
Yep, you got me
you
messed
actually
up.
liked them.
Yeah,
you liked them.
You got me messed up, too. Look at Lasquith's face. He's like, ah! I actually liked it. It was fruity. It was sweet. It was like a dessert wine. It was pretty good. I liked it.
Bring the Concord Walking Dead. I'll drop off at your house.
So next week, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be sipping on the bourbon. And look, I can't say what's going to happen because, look, I am a certified lightweight. My kids will tell you. My friends will tell you. I'm pretty sure people who know me in the chat are about to say Keith is a friggin' lightweight. So 2 hours of sipping on Kentucky bourbon. And here's what I'll do. I'll match these guys. So whenever they sip, I'll match. Well, I don't know. Squid scares me. Our squid scares me.
Dude, you don't want to match our square. Because when we were in law school, our square had a wooden leg.
So
I can't imagine what it's like, after 24 years in the military.
We'll have to see about that. Real quick before we get into
chugging that stuff.
Before we get into our show, I got to give a big thanks and kudos to Cheryl Iagatta and to all the Christmas carolers who joined us on Sunday. We visited nursing homes and homes of those who were terminally ill or those who had lost someone for a terminal illness. We went out and sang Christmas carols. We had a school bus rented, and we went all around Norway. We made these 6 stops, put a lot of smiles on people's faces, and it's in our 5th year. We do it every year, and it's just a great time. And I got to thank everybody, including my stepson Ryan, who went out, and it was a good time. So we're going to get into our topics for tonight, the local and national news booth. Big local news last week. Not much here, but this was the biggest news. The FBI and the DEA took down a major component of the Latin Kings. Latin Kings are a humongous Latin gang across the nation. They took them down in what they called was Operation Thrown Down. It filtered across 4 to 5 other states, all the way down into Florida. Over 300 arrested. But the backstory of how this whole thing went down is truly, truly scary. And how this went down was back in 2015, there was a Latin Kings, and this is almost like the movie Stone Cold with the football player there.
Brian
Bosworth, where these gangs, it's most like a gang, had people who infiltrated court systems. And so what happened is the Latin Kings had who had infiltrated the schools. Well, in infiltrate, he became a teacher. He's in the schools. He's a Latin King gang member. And what he was doing is he would find certain boys missing that father figure, whatever, and he was turning them into drug runners and drug dealers for him. One of the kids messed up on a drug deal, and he was told to kill the kid. The hit went botched. He was to be charged with attempted murder or whatever, and I guess he turned rat. This guy didn't want to go to jail. He turned rat. So when he turned, he went to the feds. The feds built their operation up. They then raided a place in Everett or Chelsea, and that person who ran that chapter of the Latin Kings decided he didn't want to go to jail, so he flipped and said he would rather work with Rico. Ken, please explain what Rico is. He wanted to work with Rico, so obviously he had some big...
Yeah, RICO is an acronym for the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. It's how the federal prosecutors have been taking down organized crime. What RICO allows prosecutors to do is charge members of a organization with a common leadership with the crime, even if that individual did not participate in the crime or even had knowledge of it. It's merely the fact you're part of the organization.
So obviously, when they got caught, he knew exactly who he wanted to sing to. That makes me, when he said right away he wanted to work with Rico, he obviously knew who he wanted to work with to get the best deal,
right.
Correct?
Well, basically what it is he was worried about a RICO prosecution, and he figured out, hey, I can help you bring in a RICO prosecution, so that allowed the prosecutors to build what we call a RICO case.
What then happens is now they infiltrate the gang. They actually infiltrate the gang through this gang that's now flipped. I was hearing in the story that they had 10 people that were armed, who they also were able and provide information on this whole operation. People in jail that were providing to go down. This whole something people arrested in this whole operation. It's when in mass history for a gang of this size. Our defense attorney gets a lot of bashing, was not tied up in this, thank God.
Well, yeah, it was very simple because the Latin Kings are Hispanic and Brockton, most of the gangs are Cape Verdean. The Cape Verdeans don't like the Latins.
Oh, got you.
Because it's, believe it or not, racism. Because most of the Latin Kings recruit from Puerto Rico and certain Central American Spanish.
Hyman, you're in the courts. Have you heard any scuttlebutt regarding this bust, or is it still pretty quiet right now?
Right now, it's pretty quiet because it's going to be federal. And here's the thing. This is the thing that I always am a little careful of. The government loves to bring out, we did this massive bust. The question is, what exactly do they have them on? Who is being prosecuted for what? And our square can talk about this. The federal system, especially the federal prosecutor's office, likes to deal down so they can get something on anybody. And they oftentimes give away the farm so they can get everybody to plead to at least one crime. The problem is, who did they bust? I think they didn't get a lot of senior people. They got a lot of lower people and maybe some mid-level managers.
No, they got the top dog. They too. So that's pretty.
And, if there's a serious effort out there to try to do something about it, I think that's resources well spent. Now, of course, they've got to be building strong cases or else it's for nothing. So, this is why Ken's point was exactly right. Let's see what they actually got these people on. You don't know who they got and how strong their evidence is and what charges it's going to be. And
our square's office on drug interdiction, they want these people arrested because they're trying to protect them, because if these people in his And I told when counsel came in, I told counsel that this guy was an undercover cop, and then he disappeared. They scrub you, meaning is you go dark for 6 months to a year.
You're not even allowed to go to the event.
So this motive has been identified, R-squared?
Yes, it has.
Okay, because I
take it in for custody. So people, but the two main players, of course, you've got the videotaper and the shooter. The shooter had posted in States deploying soldiers to help defend Sonal, and that's exactly what happened here. The bigger issue, and that's good for our national security and other things, they question our big brother and they are not a trusted partner. They are not to be working with. We should try to improve, have common Trump and Jared Kushner ties to the royal family, which I find disconcerting, quite frankly. There is some really serious, absolutely no sense that the Saudi Arabian government wouldn't have known, would somehow not one but 4 or 5 of their officers slip through the vetting process and get the Saudi royal family has blood on their hand, are personally responsible. I don't care how cozy the Trump
administration that these people got through and no one knew who they were is absolute and complete nonsense. They knew who these people were.
It was a great point, though. That's a great point to make. I wasn't doing that to cry. I chuckled because I was thinking the whole wasabi commercial. But the supports this in 2003, deployments in January of 2000 was the problem is we didn't necessarily resource ourselves to do it. We had the ability to do it. God forbid of ourselves, like in World War II, to fight a 2-front war. But that requisition of strategic mistake.
Answer that, Ken?
Yeah, there's a very famous quote from Senator George Aiken of Vermont when he was asked how he would solve the Vietnam War crisis, and he had said simply declare victory and leave. Look, this is the problem. If we use the Colin Powell doctrine, go in with overwhelming force or don't go in at all. We didn't want to go with overwhelming force because the amount of resources we'd have to commit would be probably what we're actually spending now, and also would mean very high casualty rates. The Bush administration went in with the idea that they got to take their ship. There was multiple different plans for multiple different
week. It's Katz or Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell. I don't think either one of these are going to knock it off. I think next week when Star Wars open, that will be Disney knocking itself from the top. But I am really interested in seeing this Richard Jewell story. Clint Eastwood is saying that America up until now has not known the truth about Richard Jewell in this story. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer and how Clint Eastwood is really pushing for it. The movie is already getting Oscar and Golden Globe nods before it even hits the screens. Ken?
Yeah, again, Clint Eastwood is an excellent director. I'm familiar with the story. I don't think it's worth the movie, but hey, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, supposedly America knows nothing about the truth of this story, and from what you're looking
it was covered. It was covered very extensively. It was covered when they initially arrested him, and then when the whole case fell apart. You have to be living under a rock or not been alive in 1996 when the bomb went off. Either if you know about who Richard Jewell is, you know the whole story. If you don't know it, it's because you were born after it, and it faded to black.
Square, anything to add to that?
I agree with what Ken just said. I mean, I think the story was known at the time. I remember it. I remember that he was initially a suspect, and that, of course, painted him in a bad light. But I also remember that he was cleared, and they moved on to the more actual.
They were afraid because he's quite healthy now.
So I don't think
Lucid Dreams, which I was rocking all last summer in my truck, and it was also a song that may have an insight to his life about using drugs and almost committing suicide. He suffered a seizure after getting off an airplane at Chicago's Midway Airport. Behind the scene and all this stuff, these guys get into the business. They try to, do their lives the way that they can. I go back to Amy Winehouse. She went. It's a tough loss, and for those who are fans of Juice WRLD, you got my prayers and blessings going out to you. Netflix released their 3-hour powerhouse, The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Pacino, and many more. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because Netflix also released a trailer for Six Underground, which is directed by Michael Bay, another big, if I'm not mistaken, Underground, has actually been shown at theaters across America. But in order for them to be nominated for an Academy Award, they have to be shown.
The question I have for people is, other than cost, does anybody really think that a film watching on an average television in an average home is anywhere near like watching a film in an average movie theater? And that's where I still draw a distinction. I think there's a big difference between movies that are released into the theaters. Now, I realize that there's a cost issue. People are getting priced out of it. You want to take a family of 4 to the movies, it can cost you over $100 if you get something. And so why this is happening, and people are paying for these streaming services and they don't have to pay extra to watch the movies. Why not? So I think it's going to raise some very, very serious issues for the Academy, for Hollywood, for all kinds of considerations, especially as technology improves, where watching a movie at home becomes a better and better experience. From my point of view, if I'm going to watch a Star Wars movie, especially for the first time, I'm watching it in a theater. If I'm watching anything that's going to be enhanced by having the big screen, the sound system, everything else, science fiction, war movies, even a drama might be much better on a big screen like that. Plus, sometimes it's nice to be in not overly crowded, but have, a room full of people and you can hear people's reactions. That could be part of the process too. That might be more fun with horror movies. But, to me, there's just still a big difference. And I'm not complaining. I have a pretty nice darn television here and, but I just draw a distinction still, but I think the time is coming where that's going to be less and less of an issue.
I agree with you because I have we have a big 75-inch screen downstairs for the man cave, and we're watching The Mandalorian. It's great, but again, I would love to see that on the big screen in IMAX. So there are still movies that I still have to see. The Marvel movies, the Star Wars, the sci-fis, anything like you said. I'm pretty sure, Ken, you want to add on to that? Same way?
Yeah, very simply. There are different types of experiences you get at home versus a movie theater. I'm a huge movie buff. I've got Netflix. I've got a number of movie collections. But it's not the same as going to the theater. I don't care how big your home entertainment center is, unless you're Bill Gates, you're never going to have a screen the size of a movie theater. Screens at home are measured in inches. Movie screens are measured in feet. There's also the issue of sound. The sound systems in your movie theater are much better than they are at home. And also there is what I like to refer to as size proportionality. I'll give you an excellent example. Both R Squared and I recently saw the movie Midway. Now, that's the story of the Battle of Midway during World War II, and they were dealing with aircrafters and aircraft. Of the size of either one of those objects or the ocean, unless you're in a theater.
Yeah.
So while I am not all surprised that that Hollywood is adopting to streaming services. Sure, I see much more movies on my streaming service than I do out in the theater for many reasons, including price and convenience. But there are still some times I'm going to have to go see it at the theater, or I'm not going to feel satisfied. I would have loved to have seen The Irishman in the theater. I saw it on streaming service, but I'll leave my critiques for that. But there's another movie that I have seen repeatedly. It's one of my favorites of all times that I've never seen in the theater, and I would love to, and that's Casablanca. I would love to see that in the theater. I've never seen it in the theater.
Paul Power, Salmonafo, all you guys. Viana Marie says, I will wait to watch everything at home. She is a snuggle bunny, so she wants to sit in the bed with her blankets and be able to watch her movies on the. She said, I hate people. So, moving along.
By the way, wait. By the way, how could you ever watch Rocky Horror at home?
Oh, yeah.
You'd trash your living room.
Yeah, you would.
Exactly.
Yeah, you would.
Exactly.
You would. Hey, Kathy Galvin, how's it going? Yeah, you definitely would trash your living room. Definitely, like I almost did this weekend with this Patriots game, but that's for our sports booth. Getting into the legal booth, quick story here. This actually involves the Patriots game. On Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs almost had to forfeit their game after much of their equipment was left on the flight, and the flight took off and ended up in New Jersey. The equipment was quickly flown back to Rhode Island's T.F. Green Airport, and they had a mass state police escort bring a truck with the equipment to Gillette Stadium so they would not have to forfeit the game. Now, some people are up in arms because transporting equipment to a NFL game is not a great use of natural state resources. They utilize an escort to bring these teams to the stadium. They can always say that's for security, blah, 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 blah. But there are some people out there squawking big time right now saying, why do we waste valuable resources to have two state police cruisers escort equipment? These are inanimate objects to a stadium. So a football game, well, I can tell you why they did it, because if that game had to be forfeited, you now are paying unnecessary overtime. Those people will now be sent home from the stadium. All of the revenue lost by this game being forfeited at the bars, look, the amount of money that would have been lost if this game had been forfeited is ridiculous. So I can understand why they use the Mass State Police to get that equipment here. And anybody who is complaining about resources and state monies being low, look, the cost versus what we would have lost, it's just better off letting the state police escort the equipment here, the 39 bags. I'll let you guys get into it. Squid?
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems to me like it's an unofficial use of official resources, which always should cause a red flag. I get the intent. It was obviously probably designed to do the right thing, but I guess what it boils down to for me is they do it all the time for the home team. When they need escorts to travel from the airport to the field, they need to do various things. There seems to be a lot. I realize maybe they pay for that. Maybe the Chiefs can reimburse them for it. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out in the end. Mm-hmm. It looks bad, but there are far more important things that we need to deal with because, at the end of the day, this may have been the better solution even if it wasn't exactly right.
Yeah, it would have hurt. You're talking TV ratings, everything. The loss would have been just amazing. It would have been catastrophic. Ken?
Yeah, look, I'm sure either the NFL or Kansas City reimbursed the Mass State Police for the escort. And by the way, you can purchase or rent an escort for funerals anytime you want.
That's right.
You can get details. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City or the NFL, depending on who is going to be the responsible party, got a bill for their services.
It'd be great. So that's what I said. So we got our little thing on there. Let's head to the sports booth. Here we go. Possible broken hand. Yes. After that, who gave the Patriots their last loss when this streak began, and it was a controversial loss. And for their web series, but now they're admitting that in this film footage that Cincinnati was filmed in this accidentally. It was an outside company, supposedly, blah, blah, blah. The problem is the NFL now has the film. They're looking the film over. And here's the thing. If the NFL finds anything wrong with this footage or anything that can incriminate the Patriots for doing what they were caught before, they gave up draft picks, Belichick's gone for a year, and that will suck. So I'm going to go around the horn before we get into this other stuff and let you guys go around the horn. I'm going to start with Ken Diesel first. If you're Bill Belichick's defensive attorney, what are you saying right now?
I said, for God's sakes, if they want to steal signals, all they do is turn on CBS Sports and they can videotape the game. They don't need to hire a company.
I've been saying this from day one. I don't know where this argument comes from filming teams. There is so much game film out there when you watch a game on TV, when they record it. Who cares? You're filming and spending all this time studying game film. So what does it matter if they record them or not?
Look, I don't care if Cincinnati got a hold of the Patriots playbooks for next weekend. They're still going to lose.
And why would you record a 1-12 team? Cincinnati's actually,
right.
They suck.
Oh, it's again, it's the NFL, again, the NFL trying to look tough on the Patriots. That's all. It's all show, no substance.
So this will be a bounce-back game. R-Squared?
I don't have anything to add. I mean, we'll see what comes of this. I don't know what they were doing. They certainly don't need to have an advantage over the Bengals this year. So we'll see what comes of it.
I was saying the same thing. You absolutely. If you need an advantage over the Bengals, then you definitely need to serve your 1-year suspension if you're Bill Belichick. That's what I feel in my mind. Also, Gillette at the stadium this weekend unveiled big, giant, lit up banners of Rob Gronkowski's CBD Health. It's his product that he's unveiled, and they're promoting the hell out of it. And we said this on the show, and I said, this is coming. He will be the face of CBD along with, I forget who the other player is, because the rumor is that the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, is actually up this year. And the rumor is that the NFL is going to go the same route as the NBA, and marijuana and CBD use will be allowed in the CBA agreement. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Let's see what's going to happen here. R-Squared, your thoughts on that?
Well, remember, CBD oil and marijuana usage are two different issues. And so, CBD oils do not create a positive result for THC in the blood or the urine. And so it'll be, so it's a whole different thing. Now, I realize the NFL still bans everything and because they just never took a look at the separate issue of it. As far as whether or not they'll get around to legalizing the use of marijuana, that's obviously going to be contingent on legalization efforts across the country. But strictly for CBD oil, we'll have to see how the analysis fares against, whether it's comparable to performance-enhancing drugs or whether it's really just something that helps recover from pain. And I guess, we'll see where that goes with that. But I don't know what they're going to do.
Ken, you want to add to that before we get into
No, I think R-Squared covered it better than I ever could.
All right, we want to keep that up. Also, in our sports booth, before we get into our picks, Russia has been banned for 4 years. 4 years. Listen to this, people. 4 years by the World Anti-Doping Agency, the WADA, in a vote that was unanimous. So that means Russia will not be able to compete in the 2020 Olympics or the 2022 World Cup over their doping scandal after Russian whistleblower Dr. Gregory Rodchenkov exposed the cover-up. Now, Russia is no stranger to doping. Russia is no stranger to pumping their Russian women full of steroids for taking home a ton of Olympic championships back in the day. When I remember it I remember when we were younger, and you would see these Russian women powerlifters up there looking like dudes and taking home, all of these gold medals and gymnastics, and they were being questioned and talked about then. This is nothing new.
There's nothing new. This is, what else is new? And
but this is a big whack, though. 4 years, and it's two of the biggest competitions in world sports. We here in America, we don't really look at soccer as a big deal, but when you leave this country, soccer is a big effing deal. And to not be able to compete in the World Cup is a big deal. Oscar, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, you got it wrong. It wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine that cheated.
Ukraine. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it took a second to get.
Good one.
Look.
Squid. I had to think there for a second.
Yeah, look, the fact is Russia's been cheating for a long time. This is what they deserve, and we'll be better off without them for a few years.
I'm surprised Trump didn't tweet about it when the news was released. I don't think he's made any tweets about it or said anything about it.
Well, he met with Lavrov in the Oval Office today. I'm sure they talked about it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. So before we get into our Trump troubles, let's get into our picks real quick. We got New York Giants taking on Baltimore until they lose. I'm taking Baltimore.
No, that's the Jets.
Oh, yeah, the Jets. Yeah, we don't want to ruin what happened last night. So I'm taking Baltimore in this one. Ken?
Yeah, this was a real tough one. I couldn't figure out how much Baltimore's going to be up on the Jets. Yeah, the Baltimore, of course. It's not even close.
Squid?
Yeah, Baltimore.
Seattle going into Carolina. Seattle is rolling along. I'm taking Seattle over Carolina. Squid?
Yeah, Seattle struggled in Los Angeles, so they struggle on the road, but I still think they're going to win in Carolina.
In December and win ball games when you're barely over 500. Yeah, Green Bay.
All right, we got Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes looking like he hurt that hand. We haven't heard any news. It won't be released till Thursday. Taking on Denver, but they're at home. I'm taking Kansas City in this one. Ken?
I'm taking Kansas City only because they're at home.
Squid?
Kansas City.
All right. Miami is going in to take on the Giants at home. Eli Manning was at the helm last night. He wasn't that good, and he wasn't that bad in my mind. I'm going to let Squid get into this one and give his pick first.
Yeah, there's just not much to say. I am going to give the nod to the Giants because they're at home. They're probably due for one more win this season, and maybe I'm just desperate.
How much longer is Danny Dimes out for?
I haven't heard who's starting this week, but either way, I'm going to give the nod to the Giants.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, I think the Giants are a better team than the record suggests. I think they're missing a few key elements, but yeah, they're going to beat Miami.
Oh, okay. I think I'm the only one that took the Giants at home. Houston against Tennessee.
I
you took the Giants too? Okay.
I took Giants as well.
Houston heading into Tennessee. Both teams are at 8-5. Both teams are playing good ball, but they both got some key injuries, but I'm taking Tennessee at home. Ken?
No, I think Houston's the better team. I saw the way they played against the Patriots. They got something to prove. Tennessee is hanging on by a thread. Not their year. Go with Houston.
Squid?
This is one of those toss-ups for me, so I got to go with the home team, Tennessee.
All right. We got Philadelphia coming off that win last night, taking on Washington. I got to go with Philadelphia because they know they need to make these playoffs. They can't let Washington get back in. I'm going with Philadelphia in Washington. Squid?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are still playing for something, as pitiful as that is, so I got to go Philadelphia.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The Deadskins here isn't their decade, may not even be their century. Yeah, Philadelphia.
All right, we got Cleveland going into Arizona. Arizona, like I said, they're another one of those teams. Their record it's not the real team. I'm taking Arizona at home against Cleveland, guys. Ken?
No, I'm sorry. I think Cleveland is trying to prove something that they can be at least a 500 team. So I'm going with Cleveland.
Squid?
This is a toss-up for me, so I got to go Arizona. But I was so tempted to pick Cleveland. I think they're the better team, but I think they're going to struggle on the road.
All right, we got Jacksonville going into Oakland. I'm taking Oakland at home, guys. Squid?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the home team, Oakland.
Ken?
Same here. Oakland, home team. They'll win.
All right, Minnesota going into Los Angeles. The way Minnesota's been playing, I have more trust in them. I'm thinking Minnesota will win on the road. Ken?
Yeah, the Diamond Dogs have been real, how do I say it, schizophrenic this year. Maybe they need some more lithium in the Gatorade. Yeah, go with Minnesota.
Squid?
Minnesota on the road.
All right, then 4 o'clock game on Sunday. The Rams going into Dallas. The Rams, man, they've got some problems. I'm taking the Rams over Dallas. Squid?
I'm going to take the Rams over Dallas. It's tough to beat Dallas at home. They're not that great this year. The Rams have been inconsistent, but the way they beat Seattle means maybe they're getting ready for a playoff run.
Ken?
I just want to see Jerry cry again. Go with Los Angeles.
All right, we got Atlanta heading into San Fran. There's no way Atlanta is beating San Fran at home. I'm going with San Fran and that defense and Jimmy Garoppolo. Ken?
Yeah. This is a no-brainer. Yeah. The only way San Francisco loses this game is their equipment gets lost on the way to the stadium.
Osgrid?
San Francisco.
All right, we got Buffalo heading into Pittsburgh. Buffalo is playing good ball, but Pittsburgh is now playing some good ball. I would love to give this game to Buffalo, but I think Pittsburgh takes this game at home. Ken?
No, I think Buffalo has been showing every way in this league that they got something, and they're a real contender. Pittsburgh's got problems on the field, off the field, in the locker room, in the front office, in the back office. I'm thinking this is going to be the upset of the week. I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Wow. Squid?
You know, it's funny. I think Buffalo could be the better team here, but it's so hard to go win in Pittsburgh, and I just think the Buffalo's offense isn't going to get it done, so I'm going to pick the Steelers.
All right, we got Indianapolis heading to New Orleans. If this game was in Indy, I think I would kind of give this edge towards Indianapolis, but I'm going with New Orleans at home with Drew Brees. Squid?
New Orleans.
Ken?
Yeah, the glue factory's been making a fool of me all season long, but they're not going to make a fool of me this game. Yeah, go with the Saints.
All right. So we're going to get into our Trump troubles booth here, get into that and fly through this. The NATO conference scheduled for January has been canceled after Carla Sands, the U.S. ambassador to Denmark, had barred guest speaker Stanley Sloan to celebrate the 70th anniversary of NATO. Sands was worried that Sloan, who is critical of President Trump, would use his platform to speak ill of Trump and vetoes his participation the day before he was about to leave. Now, the thing that NATO said is that they knew that he would be professional and he would not have done that to President Trump. So they're kind of upset. And this is why they canceled this whole event, because this guy brings a lot to the table when he speaks at these NATO anniversaries and things like that. Squid?
Yeah, I mean, this is just foolish, quite frankly. This conference has been planned for a while. The speaker is a internationally renowned speaker, incredibly professional. He has written some pieces that was critical of Trump's approach to NATO. So have most people. And Trump has certainly, people can agree or disagree with his approach to NATO, but it is controversial at a minimum. And so this is just a ridiculous thing. The ambassador saying he was afraid that the president might be annoyed by it. Well, obviously the president is annoyed by anybody who, has the slightest disagreement, who doesn't worship him. And that's a real flaw. And yet we're now going to threaten these academic and diplomatic conferences just to appease the president's fragile ego. That is like the worst possible reason to do that. First of all, he was going to be one of a dozen speakers, and the people who were attending were 100 assorted diplomats at a NATO conference. So, it's just ridiculous. Plus, what the NATO, I forgot the commissioner's name who was putting this conference together, who ultimately canceled it. But he said that he had been in touch and he knew that the speech wasn't going to be some kind of partisan political thing. He knew his audience. His audience was an international NATO diplomatic conference, and he was going to speak accordingly. So the whole thing is ridiculous, and it's a real shame. It's embarrassing to our country.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that to be that upset over it, Ken.
Yeah, what R squared said. He's right as usual.
Yeah, it was. It's a lot of people are upset at this whole thing. All right. Also, this week we were planning on talking about the House Judiciary Committee. We'll hear testimony from the Democratic lawyers about their case for impeachment, and now they have announced that President Trump's actions. Drum roll, please, because we've been talking about this on the booth for the last so many months. We said exactly what was going to happen here, and we called it. We said abuse of power, obstruction of justice. Those were the two things that they were going to find to be able to get this impeachment process going. I'm going to let Oswald go first because Oswald was saying this from day one.
Yeah, look, I think we'll spend much more time on this next week when we see what the vote is coming out of the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll just kind of tease it now. I think, this was a very obvious and easy prediction to make. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a stew.
That all down for everybody next week too. So we're getting ready to head out of here. It is 7 o'clock. I'm going to let my guys say goodbye and go around the horn. I'm going to start with Oswald first.
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to talk about these things. Appreciate people listening and stay informed.
Ken Diesel?
Yeah, want a big shout out to our listeners, all 12 of them. Wish everyone a belated Happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Gay Indian Liberation Rights Day. Be safe, be warm, be good to each other.
Yeah, again, I got to thank everybody for coming out and listening to the show. We had a ton of people in the chat checking out the show today. Got some family members, got some co-workers, got a ton of people from the city of Brockton. I think there's too many people to list, but I tried to say, hey, thanks for listening to everybody on our show. Great stuff. I got to mention tomorrow we will be at the Shaw Center for a holiday festivity. Beyond Marie will be performing. They're giving some items away to children in need. Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be there. I don't know if Ken can make it there. It starts at 4 o'clock.
No, unfortunately, I have an appointment in Boston at 4:30. So.
All right, so we'll be there. Also, like I said, next week is our holiday break, 2-hour show, heading into Eddie Murphy's SNL December 21st appearance. I believe we talked in the show. I believe me and Ken had agreed that we'll be in like a live chat while we're watching this show, because this is going to be hilarious. Eddie Murphy has already announced that he is bringing back some of the classic Eddie Murphy characters, such as Gumby. He's bringing back Buckwheat, which we all know was assassinated in the same format as Ronald Reagan.
Fake news. Fake news reported by the failing New York Times.
Do you think, so you guys think Eddie Murphy, we will find out if he's a fan of Trump or not? Do you think he will? I'm curious to see what he's going to unveil. It's very secret as to what we're going to see. So what do you guys think? You guys think they're going to work in some Trump stuff with Eddie Murphy?
Oh,
Who can Eddie Murphy play in the cold open for? Because look,
who else? He's gonna. What's his face? The HUD secretary. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Ben Carson.
Yes.
Oh, well, no, they already have somebody playing Ben Carson, don't they? The kid that does the TV report. Would it be funny if Eddie Murphy comes out as Obama?
Yeah, he couldn't do a good Obama.
So we'll see, because, again, as you guys said, the word is coming out next week regarding this impeachment process. So next Saturday Night Live, Cold Open, is definitely going to have something to do with whatever this big announcement that we will find out is. So we'll talk about it on Tuesday, and then, like I said, it's going to be Eddie Murphy on SNL. Will he be involved with Cold Open? I'm pretty sure, and it's probably
he definitely will be. I wouldn't be surprised if he does like Jesse Jackson or I don't know. Oh God, why can't I remember his name?
Could he bring back the Don King? Don King was a buddy of Trump.
Yeah, he could bring back Don King. No, but oh God, oh come on, God, why can't I remember his name?
Political or an actor or who?
He was a preacher. Came on, did the rape.
Jesse Jackson?
That kid who, not Jesse Jackson, the kid who faked her rape, being raped by white police officers.
Al Sharpton. Yeah, I'm dying because I know he's going to be involved. It's going to be real interesting. So we'll set up a live chat that night while we're watching live. It's 11. I think it's 11:30. Saturday Night Live will be on Saturday. Oswald had already told us he's in bed, so he will not be on. But again, next Tuesday, we will be sipping on the Walking Dead Kentucky bourbon. So Ken and I still have to go out and get our bottles for next Tuesday night. This is going to be real interesting because I am not, like I said, I am a lightweight. So, guys, want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you're here next week for our 2-year ending show and 2-hour ending show. And SpongeBob, do me a favor. Take us home.
Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning into the booth at whobazoo.com. Please make sure to tune in for more booth next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. New York Eastern Standard Time. Become a fan on their Facebook page and check out their podcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. The Booth is a Sinista One production hosted by Sinista One, Ken Diesel, and R Squared.
I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff. It's just that I'm up on this level up here, and all my friends are down here. Me, nah. You guys, nah. Maybe a little more down in here. Screw you guys, I'm going home.